All right, what I want to go over today is a set and rep scheme that we're going to be using this mesocycle, and it's called descending rep, ascending load. Maybe some of you guys have experienced this before because another word for this is a pyramid style. And so I can imagine that some of you guys have at least heard that word or trained in this way before. Long story short, what this means is that we are going to be adding weight from set to set. Now, what you guys have been doing is more of a straight sets across methodology where you pick one weight and you aim to kind of get very similar reps from set to set. That's what you've been doing. What we're going to do this mesocycle for certain exercises is a descending rep, ascending load, which means as the reps go down, the weight goes up, or as the weight goes up, the reps go down. And so instead of seeing what you normally see, which is like 8 to 10 reps, right, a rep range, you're going to have very specific rep numbers. No, almost always you will have 5 sets, and it will look something like 10, 8, 8, 6, 4. Maybe it's 10, 10, 8, 8, 6, or 12, 10, 10, 8, 8. Whatever it is, there will be some amount of descending across the sets from higher reps to lower reps. And what that means is as the reps are going down, I want the weight to be going up. And so the really long and short of this, guys, is that from set to set, I want you to add a little bit of load. That's it. From set to set, I want you to add a little bit of load. And so we're going to take a look at what that looks like really quick. And we're going to use glute bridges as an example. So as you guys can see that the RIR is going down, which is something you guys are used to, which means you're going to be trying harder each set. And so what I want you guys to really focus on before we get a little overwhelmed with the fact that there's 5 different reps, that there's 5 different RIRs, if we just had to translate this into a very easy process for you guys, what I want you to do is week 1, or whenever you're watching this video, if you're new, is establish this first set at 4 RIR. It doesn't need to be perfect. What does 4 RIR mean? It means that you have several reps left in the tank. It means that the set isn't insanely difficult. And so that is the first step. The first step is before you get overwhelmed with trying to make it perfect on every set, just nail this first set of 10. Nailing it means making it not that hard, because that's what a 4 RIR or 4 RIR is. So let's say you do a set of 10 times 100 pounds in the glute bridge. And for you, that is pretty easy. And so that accomplishes the goal of nailing this 4 RIR. From that point, instead of getting super neurotic about the RIR and thinking that you have to nail every single RIR every single set, you can kind of pretend like this doesn't exist. If you get this set right and you're like, hey, I'm going to get a set of 10 that's relatively easy and I'm going to start from there, you've accomplished what I'm asking you to do. From this point, you're going to follow the rep scheme, 10, 8, 8, 6, 4. And you're going to add a little bit of load every set. And so that might look something like 10 times 100 pounds, 8 times 110 pounds, adding 10 pounds, 8 times 120 pounds, 6 times 130 pounds, and 4 times 140 pounds. And so as the reps went down, 10, 8, 8, 6, 4, the weight went up, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140. So hopefully everyone sees how that's happening. And so very simply, to reiterate kind of what is happening here, you are beginning with a relatively easy set of 10 or 12, whatever the first set is. And then from that point, you're going to add a very small increment of load. The question is, how small? And I would say conservatively the smallest option that you have possible, because you can always increase it. And so if you're doing glute bridges and you go from 100 to 105 pounds to 110 pounds, which would be only adding 5 pounds from set to set, you might find out that that's not enough, right? And in the same vein, let's say we're doing this with a row, 5 pounds might be plenty. And so I'd rather you add the smallest increment that you have available. And if it's too easy, you can add more. That's totally fine. I don't want you to go to 100, 140, 180, 200. That's too big of a jump. We should be adding a little bit of load each set. Now, from here, how do you progress? The progression will be the same for every week, and it will say something like, try to progress on everything, and if you can't, progress on something. Try to progress on everything, and if you can't, try to progress on something. What that means is try and start on set 1 with what you did last week on set 2. And what that will do is it will give you this kind of slow progression across the mesocycle where you end up, let's say, let me just kind of go through this, 10 times 110, 8 times 120, 8 times 130, 6 times 140, and then you'll end up in this final set ending higher than you ended last time, 4 times 150. And so as you can see, these numbers are going to just kind of go up by one step on the ladder each week. Now, you might be able to go up on every set for the first couple of weeks. You might find that you're able to add 5 pounds. You know, you might start at 100 here, end at 140. Then start at 110, end at 150. Then maybe you start at, 115 and end at 155. And so you might be able to add on everything every week, or you might be able to add on every set each week for the first couple of weeks. That will not last forever. You won't be able to just add every single time on every single set. 99% chance that you run into an area where you can't beat on everything. When you can't beat on everything, just beat on something. And when I say that, I've been doing this long enough to know that even if you do this really perfectly well, one of these sets will be kind of sneakily easier than the others. And so let's say you finish your sets and you're like, man, that's going to be really tough to beat on everything next week. But you kind of know that suspiciously this set of 6 was a little bit easy. So maybe you just hone in on this set, and next week you're going to go for 6 times 135 maybe. And so if you can beat on everything, that's your default. Can I start higher than I started last week so that I end higher than I ended last week? If you can't do that, find one of these sets. It could be the last set, it could be the first set, it could be a middle set. Chances are it's going to be a set where you dropped reps. So let's say we have 10, 8, 8, 6, 4. I can imagine that it will be either the set of 8 or the set of 6 or the set of 4. And that's just my experience, is when you drop load, sometimes we end up or when we drop reps, sometimes we don't add as much load as we possibly can. And so while you might say, you know what, I can't go up on everything this week, but when I went from 10 to 8 here, I probably could have added weight. And so maybe I start with 10 times 110, which would be the same thing from week 1 or from week 2 here. And I'm going to go up here, and then I'm going to match on all the other sets. That's fine, guys. You're going to try and go up on everything, and if you can't, go up on something. Cool. I'm sure there will be more questions. I'm going to do a quick recap now, so if you kind of got it, then you can X out the video. I'm going to do a quick recap and talk a little bit about why we're doing this. And so, if you got it, you're ready to roll, you can stop, you can go on and do something else, but otherwise I want to do a little bit more thorough right now. So, recap. You are going to begin week 1, or whenever you're watching this video, you're joining the program with a very easy set, a 4 RIR set of whatever the first set number is. Let's say it's 10. And so let's say it's 100 pounds. From that point, you don't worry about the RIR so much. The RIR will fix itself. It will do what it's supposed to do, which is make you work harder each set if you just keep adding weight. And so, yeah, the RIR is there to be helpful, but if you just keep adding weight, it will get harder. And that's what this means. What does this mean? It means the sets should get harder as you go on. And so if you just keep adding weight, the sets will naturally get harder. So you don't need to focus in so much on the RIR. Once you got this first set down of like pretty easy, just add load set to set. From there, from progression, you're going to try and add on everything, which means if you start higher than you started last time, you'll end higher than you ended last time, right? Now, why are we doing this style of training? What is the benefit? It is certainly still within the umbrella of hypertrophy, but this sort of pyramid style where we're really working up. I mean, you are doing sets of 6 and 4 here. Those are pretty low reps. And so what we are doing is building what's called neurological efficiency. When you do the same exercise many times in a row, that's why we're doing so many sets, 5 sets, you get better at that exercise every set. It's like swinging a golf club. It's like by the 5th hole, you're pretty warmed up and your swing is great. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We need to do more sets so that we can get more in the groove of doing the movement. When we pair that increase in neurological efficiency from set to set with moving more weight set to set, we get a nice blend of strength and hypertrophy. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun. I very much enjoy this style of training. It gives us an opportunity to really push some heavy loads, to break through some strength plateaus, to put some weight on the bar that you haven't ever seen before. That will happen here. Because we're doing many sets, 5 sets, you're going to get better at the move set to set. And because the reps are going down, and you're adding load, you're going to get to some of these new loads that you may have never used before. So it can be a really fun way to break through some strength plateaus and kind of just expose your body to some heavier loads. So again, I know there will be questions. Come to the Zooms. I promise that we will be having many a discussion on this topic in the Zooms. So if you can't show up to the Zooms, which is fine, I understand, please take some time to watch them or listen to them, because I know that there are going to be a lot of people who have questions on this, and we're going to be going over it even more thoroughly in there. All right? Have a good one.